Today we're talking art and NFTs. And joining me today are two very, very special people. We have Anoma Wijewardana and Kesara Ratnavibhushana. Hi Anoma and Kesara, it's lovely meeting you both again. One thing I've noticed, from all the time we've spent here today, is you guys share an amazing rapport. And I know that you guys go way back. Tell me a little bit about it.
Wow.
Well, we go back socially, and of course I've always admired Anoma's work. And
Similarly. And you've taken photographs of some of my exhibitions, I think.
And of you, and your expressions, and your very expressive moments. And we swapped pictures for coconuts also at one point, which is, excellent trade-offs. We've always had I think, a very good understanding. Very forthright, very frank.
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
Yeah,
especially.
and I think you're really wonderful to work with. I've really enjoyed working with you.
Thank you.
We have honest,
Likewise.
straight, and just I just think it's very easy working with you. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anoma's been tremendously, her experience obviously in this field is unparalleled, and for me as coming into this role as a curator has been tremendous, because I also have to be on the ball. I also have to know, okay, she has very specific ways of doing things, and she knows what she's doing. So I've also got to make sure that I can kind of fit in with that, and it worked. And even if we disagree about something, we know how we can disagree about it. We're solutions oriented, to use the parlance. Right?
And we thrash it out because we're very open about what we feel we disagree on. We have quite a few disagreements, but actually it works very well. I really have appreciated that.
Likewise.
So I'm assuming then, Kesara, it would have been very easy for you to think of Anoma, and when you kind of decided that you need to figure out who you're going to have feature, the artist that you're going to feature in the Brilliant Resilient, which is an art NFT exhibition. So I'm assuming that would have been an easy decision with someone like Anoma.
Well, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, Anoma and I haven't really been speaking about NFTs as such, and when this thing crystallized, I hadn't spoken to her about it, so it was a call out of the blue, and she was one of the first people I spoke to. And sort of I called straight on, and I thought, okay, let's see, because this could go, Anoma's established, she has a very specific way of doing things. This could be completely not her thing, or it could completely be, and I felt that, would it be I didn't realize it would actually be something that we'd both be able to explore. I did feel, though, that if anyone was going to understand this, it would be her, and I think that was straight off the bat. That was something that really we connected with.
It was heaven sent, because I've been wanting to do that for the last 2 years, actually, whenever since read about it and thinking, I want to do NFT, but I was like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know, the process. And then up comes Kesara with the platform and the possibility and expertise as well that the platform gives you. And I was just thrilled. But I mean, I also did in 2006 the first digital
I wanted to actually ask you about this
exhibition in Sri Lanka, I'm told, in 2006. So even then, I remember that same feeling of thinking, digital, art, what is that? And I want to try. And again, getting lots of ideas and help from people to try and explore that. Didn't know what I was doing at all. But actually, Lisa said something quite interesting. She said you work in so many different mediums, but it's still the same look, the same line. It's
same vocabulary,
It's that very same themes, and everything comes, So I just like different techniques. But of course, my first love is paint and a brush. But of course, I will always explore.
How was the experience, though? I mean, switching to NFTs, trying something new. I know you like trying new things, pushing boundaries all the time.
That's why I called her, because I knew she was pushing boundaries, and she always has, and she'd worked across media. Because that's one of the hardest things, is to challenge, to express this to established artists, many of whom are resistant, because they have, the paradox is, because they've been established and because they have perhaps an academic training and a discipline, they may not necessarily want to venture from that. And I knew,
and that's very good reason for not,
of
because
course,
you had your signature style, your
of course,
signature look, and that's what people want, and that's what they expect from a certain artist. And then when you veer off into video or sculpture, they all look at, I remember that digital art exhibition in 2006, people coming up to me, so what is it? What do you call this? it's not a painting, no, what is it, what? And they were completely flummoxed and actually not interested in a way. And it took time to get them interested in, because they were used to a certain kind of painting that I did. And that's the first time I broke away from straight painting. Yeah, yeah. So, but
I think
so it has its pluses, it has its minuses too, actually.
of course, but we live also in an era which is rapidly digitizing. I myself, as a photographer, have embraced video, for example, something I never thought I'd do. And I think we live in those times where these media are becoming an ever-present part of what we do, and also our repertoire as artists. And this was an excellent opportunity, to be able to explore that. And I found, of course, the advantage was that Anoma can take to things like that because of the fact that she's not afraid to experiment and to develop.
I've already done, obviously, in 2006 that video, and then 5 more since then, including the one at the Venice Biennale, was the last video I did. So it was not so difficult to then take stuff, from those and work with it being NFT ideas,
So you've had over the years countless solo exhibitions that you've done. Has the work there in any way culminated in your NFTs you did this time?
Oh, absolutely,
you inspired?
absolutely. And it this now might be my 7th venture out into the theme of unity, of harmony, of being inclusive, So I've done work like that fits in with that theme for a very long time, in various countries as well. So actually it was, again, perfect alignment. Yeah.
The Brilliant Resilient. I just love the name. I think it's a very, very timely topic. So is that what inspired you as well?
I've been looking at meme culture here, which is, I find, the arts, and Anoma and I have had discussions with this when we were working on the Creative Industries Committee here, and memes have allowed creative expression, visual creative expression, to permeate across the island and into the public consciousness. And that, in a way, I feel was the precursor to a lot of the art, say, that we saw at the Aragale or this year, that actually acted as a rallying cry for people to share and to express and, to let out. And alongside that, I realized, my goodness, there is so much creativity that is bubbling to the surface, but perhaps doesn't have the right channels to be expressed. But here it is, it's riding out. So we must document that. And then when Lisa and Aisha and Natasha from the Upside Space got in touch with me saying, look, we're looking at curators across the region, from Indonesia, Bhutan to the Middle East. We want these stories that are local but have an international significance. And that's, again, one of the reasons I was looking at Anoma's work, is because she has an international, her heart is very much here, and her work reflects that. And the work we featured in here has both a very Sri Lankan identity, but also an international identity. And you need that as well when you are communicating. And Sri Lankans, I feel, can do that as well. It's not always about local. And so the exhibition kind of crystallized very naturally, and I thought it was an amazing opportunity for us to showcase what we can do, our creative response to our times and the turbulence of our times, not just this year, but sort of over the last sort of decade, I would say, with very similar themes, and that's how it was formulated. And over the last 6 months, the art itself has grown with what's been happening, and it's responded to. Then there are pieces which have specifically responded not just chronologically to what's been happening, but thematically and in so many ways. And I feel that I'm very happy with the fact that we have that body of work to show the world.
That's wonderful. As curator, I must say, you probably have a very difficult job, right? Artists, of course, they're going to express themselves, but sometimes in a way they are also stifled, right? So you have to create this balance. How was that process like for you, working with these artists, working closely with them, looking at their work, seeing if it's appropriate?
There are several levels to it, and especially when you deal with an international platform, there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of legalese, which was actually taking up a good sort of about 30% of the work, was to actually have artists understand all the criteria you have to fulfill. It's not just, let me express myself, oh great, I had an exhibition and people love my work. No, there's so much more that needs to go into it. And that was also a challenge. One of the first challenges, of course, is, you say, okay, I like your work, or do you have any work that fits this theme that I can have a look at? Generally, the answer was yes. Fabulous. Next is, would you like to showcase it on an international platform? Yes, of course we would. Now, the kicker is that it's going to be as an NFT.
Yes.
Now, there's that big pregnant little silence, which everyone's going, what's this then? So that, and I'm happy to say that nobody said, oh, no, I'm not interested. Everyone either had heard of it and said yes. Now, Anoma, for instance, knew what it was, knew the basis, and just, it was a very natural, straightforward conversation of the how then we take this massive body of work, we distill, and then we turn it in, and what the actual NFT would look like. With others, it was a little more challenging, and sort of I had to wait with the fuel crisis. You can't visit anyone.
Yes.
You can send people links, but that doesn't mean their links will load and they will check and they will understand. You have to do it, especially in Sri Lanka.
Very hands-on.
So much has to be hands-on, and even just getting a contract back can be a challenge digitally, right? So all this, I'm glad I was able to also help the artists, and in a way, the fact that I've been a photographer and that I'm familiar with, say, the software as well, and that I can actually edit a video quickly if I need to in the professional software, so I understand how it's working. That also helped me to help them, and we were able to sort of, instead of waiting for intermediaries and other parties,
I think
it really helped.
You're also a creative person as well as a curator. Do you know what I mean? So that kind of is unusual, perhaps. Most curators maybe aren't actual creators themselves.
I suppose that also helped me.
That made you very patient and very understanding, and you could see where we were also coming from. Maybe, I don't know.
I think it did. I felt that it did.
It was really lovely working with you.
Now, Anoma, at the pre-launch event, you already sold NFTs. How was that?
That was very exciting to hear that it had actually sold, because, there's always, you're always amazed if anything sells, actually. But this was such a leap, actually. And, I thought, I'm going to try it. I want to try it. I'm desperate to try it. But I didn't even think it would actually work, kind of thing. So the fact that it sold actually sort of confirms that it's people are happy to work with it that way,
Sure.
and to have it just on a screen as opposed to possessing an actual thing. And it was a very interesting
different experience as well, I'm assuming, for you, having something like that. So
it just was. It just shows how much the world is changing, actually, as to, when it actually hits you personally, it becomes a far more real kind of exercise of the metaverse, the way Gen Z thinks in terms of everything being on the screen, and so that actually becomes far more real, actually, very interesting.
do you feel art is constantly evolving, right? Do you think people should usually stay true to their roots, or is diversifying a good thing?
Well, I don't think artists should do anything. Why should artists be or should be anything? A lawyer maybe has to be something. An artist, we're free to do anything.
I think that's the great thing about art. You have that freedom.
Absolutely.
But we also have the politically correct culture.
When Carl Andre landed a pile of bricks in the Tate, and that was seen as art, and Duchamp showed a urinal, and that was seen as art. So yes, artists can be anything. It can be just a line of poetry, which also sold.
Yes. Tell
Digital
me a little bit
and
about it.
Absolutely.
So an audio file by the artist, by the poet Devika Brendan. I mean that sold, and to know that a Sri Lankan work of art, I mean, to sell a piece of poetry is difficult enough. You have to print it as a book, is how it eventually sells. But here, somebody wanted that audio. Somebody wanted that as a, as a piece, and I think that's incredible. Very,
much
and
more than they
crucially
would for a book, right?
and
of her poetry.
yes, and bringing dollars into the country. It's actually, it fits in also. One thing that's important is a chance for Sri Lankan artists and Sri Lankans to earn,
to be international,
to be
sell
international
internationally without having to worry about customs and shipping stuff, which I've had my lifetime of nightmares to do with that. I've recently I've been asked by customs to pay to bring in my own paintings back. Unbelievable things that you go through. So this is very wonderful. It's very democratic, it's very immediate, it's very international, it's global. So it's very exciting.
I think it's a great platform for artists, and certainly it is the future. So what is next for the two of you? I see you constantly pushing boundaries. So what's next?
I actually don't ever talk about what's next because things happen, things don't happen. It's almost in the bag and then it slips away, or suddenly overnight something amazing happens. So I've kind of just learned not to sort of talk about it too much, but suffice it to say that I've got about 5 different areas in which I'm working on, and sometimes not working on, or the commissions which should have been delivered last year, which completely delayed by protesting instead. And things are happening, which is exciting. But this has been very exciting for me anyway, because it's just something so different.
I'm so glad, and I look forward to seeing your work as well.
Yes, you must. I'd love to know what you think. I want
Certainly.
a critical comment on
I
it.
will. I don't know if I'm personally equipped for that, but I will try my best.
You can speak,
I hope
right?
I'm an
You have words.
You have
very
words.
good
I will use
words.
that.
You
And
are
you understand
expressive,
very well. You're
so
very expressive.
that's
So,
what this is, right?
So it's not that somebody should be, and again, it's with art, there
not
shouldn't be
personal.
shoulds. I mean, it's good if you have a critical training background and you're an art historian. That certainly helps. But I learn every day. I mean, my cat tells me stuff. So you learn from anyone's approach, and I've even learned from children responding to my work. And seeing things. They see things that you don't.
I also remember you telling me, I think the last time, that you had someone actually end up in tears after seeing your work. I think that is an amazing
Mikasa,
feeling.
actually, which is in the is an NFT. There's a video in NFT.
It's in there.
And somebody who was she was a teacher, and I'm just sitting there quietly with the work installation. And she said, "I'm crying. I don't know why I'm crying. How can a painting, how can art make you cry?" She was just completely, I mean, it was about different religions all saying the same thing. So it was very much about, again, being inclusive. And it was in Sinhala, Tamil and English as well. And I mean, she didn't understand why art could make her cry. So that was an amazing experience.
Certainly. And I'm so glad to hear that as well. So Kesara, you tell me what's next for you after all of this.
Well, there are quite a few things we've been, so as the exhibition started to crystallize, obviously that spawned a lot of other interesting avenues. So I've been talking with the Upside Space, and I think we have some exciting, I think it's an exciting time for Sri Lankan art. There's at least a few sort of projects we're now working on, and something specifically was the creative expressions from the north and east of the country. Not that this was geographically determined, it's just that I think our fuel crisis had a lot to do with it, because my initial plan was to be able to go around the country and visit the artists, and that was part of the remit. That's what makes the platform also different from perhaps many of the other platforms where anyone can host anything, is that level of curatorship where it's very personal, it's very sitting down, having conversations, coming back and having conversations. Anoma and I have sat here countless times, right, in the middle of the fuel crisis, where one day I walked back from here to Tumula to Pittakote. It took me about 4 hours of walking back through.
No, I can't come today because this. No, we can't do it. But we managed
to do it, and all the other artists also, somehow we managed to do it. Unfortunately, that giant geographically made it more challenging, but that's perhaps opportune, because now I see how all these can fit together, and so that's something I'm very excited about, and the platform definitely sort of, we're once it launches and once the other regional exhibitions also come together, then we have even more material and even more interactions
Yeah.
and sort of this language and this discourse we're all going to have as a collective of Middle Eastern, South Asian and Southeast
Wow.
Asian artists. That's how
Fantastic.
we just happen to be the first to get this together
Started.
because of the opportunities we had from both the Canadian High Commission and our sponsors at Lanka. They also helped us kind of give us two very interesting events that kind of complement things and also show Sri Lanka as a future forward destination amidst all the challenges that we have, the power cuts, the gas shortages, everything. But we can still do it. We can still be resilient in a way where things move forward.
Sure.
And we've sold 7 NFTs
That's
as
wonderful.
of date with others discussion, and this is prior to even having formally
Only launched on Thursday.
both the
So, I
Sri
mean, it's
Lankan collectors
incredible.
and international collectors.
That is amazing.
One purchased it prior to even this from, I think, a client from overseas, either Dubai or Singapore. So we know that Sri Lankan art has been taken to the world. There's some galleries who have done an excellent job of doing that. But now this vehicle will really help a lot more voices come to the fray, and also to revisit what they've been doing. And the artists themselves are now excited because they met for the first time. It was a beautiful thing to see, and the artists have been messaging me as well and telling me how amazing it was, not just for them to be part of this, but to meet each other, to see each other's work. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that narrative, even when I conceptualized it, I was thinking a year and 5 years ahead, and seeing how this story will evolve. It's a continuing story. It's not just done, dusted, finished, fine, we sold and end of that. No, I want this to continue because it's tied also into the narrative of our nation, not just our nation, the world also, because a lot of our problems have now, we're seeing it across the world, right?
True.
So the whole world is, and as Anoma's work has been reflecting for many years
Yes,
now,
of course.
right? This is not new. It's just that many people are only noticing it. So there are all these underpinnings, and each of the artists has a role to play, and they all underpin each other, and they all they complement each other, and hopefully that's a language that needs to be developed as well. This collective, we should not be afraid of. We should be able to help each other, and that's how we've seen it this year, that Sri Lankans can pull together, and when they do,
Certainly.
amazing things can happen if they focus their energies in the right way, and if they have the right amount of help here and overseas. The possibilities really are endless, and we keep saying this, we keep thinking that Sri Lanka has so much potential. Now's the time to realize it, and I hope, at least in our small way, we have, in our world, we have proved that it is possible.
Yeah.
And Lisa's flying down as well. I would have been very happy with just a video call from her, but she said, she and her partner Aisha, they said, no, you know what, we'll do this. We haven't planned to do this, we haven't costed for it, but we'll do it. And we'll come down not just for the day in and out, but 2-3 days. She sat on a crazy flight from Dubai through Mali and all of that, but she never complained. She said, look, I'm coming because it'll help everyone. And it did.
And
So
it did.
yeah.
She spoke so brilliantly about it all.
And thank you for doing this as well,
Of course.
and being so enthusiastic about it, because it
It is
could just
something
be
very
another event.
important,
But
of
yeah.
course. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to have a chat with both of you. It's always a pleasure. So thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. And I certainly look forward to all these NFTs in the future as well. So thank you.